Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No. Jai Om Vishnu Papa. AC book Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnu Papa. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashipu Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Narsingha Parato Narsingho Yato yato yami tato Narsingha Pahir Narsingho Hridaye Narsingho Narasingha Mading Sharanang Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Talita Hiranya Parkashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Keshavadita Nahare Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Tavakara Kamalavare Adbhuta Shringa Talita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare, Jai Jagadisha Hare. Lord Nrsingadev Ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. I think we got to like text 6.
Okay.
Maybe text 5 is where we started text 6.
Okay. Nature and enjoy and consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita class. Starting introduction prayer, page 1. Omagana Termanasya Dhyana Jana Salakya Chakshumita Nina Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kara Mayam Dadati Swapatantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes to the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guna Vaishnav Soscha Shri Rupa Sagar Rajatam Saha Gana Gunanavitam Tasajivam Savetam Sadhutam Pariyajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkashakana Vitamscha. Off my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. Off my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. Off my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadhar, Srivasa, and other associates. Off my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Sute. Oh, my dear Krishna, you're the friend of the distress and the source of creation. You're the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. Offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapa Kanchana Garange Radhe Bindasvare Vispanu Sute Devi Pranamamane Hare Periye. Offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vishbanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vancha kapatat paryascha kripa sindhu bhaya evascha patitanam pavanid bhayo vaishnav vaipano nomo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fill the desires of everyone just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadhar Shri Vasti Gaur Bhaktavinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadhar Shri Vasa and all others in line to devotion. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are on chapter 13, Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Today we're starting on text 6 and 7. Mahabhutani akankaro buddhir avyaktam ivacha indrayani dashikam cha pancha chandriya gocharaha inchaha dvesha sukam dukam sangatas chaitanya dritihi etak setram samasena savikaram udatram. Translation: the five great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, and the aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be in the field of activities and its interactions. Text 8 through 12. Amitivam adambehitavam ahimsa santir ajavam acharyo pasanam satcham staharyam atma vinigaraha Indraya arteshu varyagyayam Anahana kara ivacha jama mrityu jara vayati dukkha doshanudarashanam asakyatir anapisvanga puchadara gridadishu nityam cha samachittatvam istasnishtopapatishu Mayi anya yogena bhaktir avya vicharani vivikta desha sevitvam aratir jana samsari Adhyatma Gyana Nityatvam Tattva Ganartha Darsanam Eta Gyanam Ita Proktam Agyanam Yad Atto Niyata. Whew, that's a tough one. Translation: humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, and self-control. Renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, the absence of false ego, the perception of the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, non-attachment to children and wife, home and rest. Evil-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events. Gornitai ki jai. Constant, unalloyed devotion to me, resorting to solitary places, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I thus declare to be knowledge, and what is contrary to these is ignorance. Text 13. Gyayam yata pravaksham yame yagyatva mrita asnute anatimat param brahma nasatan nasad ujyate. Translation: I shall now explain the unknowable, knowing which you will taste, the eternal. This is beginningless, and is subordinate to me. It is called Brahma, the spirit, and it lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Text 14. Sarvataha pani param tat sarvato shri siro mukham sarvata shruti maloke sarvam avitya tishyataji. Translation: everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes and faces, and he hears everything. In this way, the supersoul exists. Text 15. Sarvendriya guna bharasham sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarva prichachaiva nigunam guna bhokchacha. Translation: the supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature. At the same time, he is the master of all modes of material nature. Text 16. Bahirnantascha bhutanam acharam charam ipam cha sukshmatavatad abhigyanyam durashtam chatike chatat. Translation: the supreme truth exists both internally and externally, in the moving and non-moving. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Our final text tonight, text 17. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, vibhakam iva cha shititam, bhuta bhaktir cha gadvyam, yashinu bravashinu cha. Translation: although the Supersoul appears to be divided, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of everything, every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Turning to text 6 and 7. Translation: purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The five great elements: false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions. All these are considered in summary to be in the field of activities and its interactions. Purport: from all authoritative statements of the great sages, the Vedic hymns of the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra, the components of this world are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These are the 5 great elements, Mahabhuta. Then there are false ego, intelligence, and the unmanifested stage of the 3 modes of nature. Then there are 5 senses for acquiring knowledge: the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch. Then 5 working senses: voice, legs, hands, the anus, and the genitals. And then above the senses there is the mind, which is within, and which can be called the sense within. Therefore, including the mind, there are 11 senses altogether. Then there are 5 objects of the senses: smell, taste, warmth, touch, and sound. Now, the aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activities. If one makes an analytical study of these 24 subjects, then he can very well understand the field of activity. Then there is desire, hatred, pleasure, and pain, which are interactions, representations of the 5 great elements of the gross body. The living symptoms represented by consciousness and conviction are the manifestation of the subtle body, mind, ego, and intelligence. These subtle elements are included within the field of activities. The 5 great elements are a gross representation of the subtle false ego. They are a representation in the material conception. Consciousness is represented by intelligence, of which the unmanifest stage is the 3 modes of material nature. The unmanifested 3 modes of material nature is called pradhana. One who desires to know the 24 elements in detail, along with their interactions, should study the philosophy in more detail. In Bhagavad Gita, a summary only is given. The body is a representation of all these factors, and there are changes of the body, which are 6 in number. The body is born, it grows, it stays, it produces byproducts, it begins to decay. In the last stage, it vanishes. Therefore, the field is non-permanent, material thing. However, the the knower of the field, its proprietor is different. Text 8 through 12. Translation: humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, and self-control. Renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, perception of evil, of birth and death, old age and disease, non-attachment to children, wife, home, and the rest and the even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events. Constant, unalloyed devotion to me, resorting to solitary places, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, the philosophical search for the absolute truth, all these I thus declared to be knowledge, and what is contrary to these is ignorance. Report. This process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of a field of activity. But actually, this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process and the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists, this is not the interaction of the tenfold elements as described before. Did I skip a line here? Oh. It is actually the means to get out of it. Of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 10th verse. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. So if one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service to the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. But if one takes to devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within him. The principle of accepting a spiritual master, as mentioned in the 7th verse, is essential. Even for one who takes to devotional service, it is the most important transcendental. It is the most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, clearly states here that this process of knowledge is the actual path. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense. As for the knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge, who knows what he is not this body, anything, honor or dishonor pertaining to this body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion, and consequently sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following religious principles and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by these items. Nonviolence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body, but actually nonviolence means not to put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance in the material concept of life, and they are perpetually suffer material pains. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement, that is, nonviolence. Tolerance means that one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. If one is engaged in advancement of spiritual knowledge, there will be so many insults and much dishonor from others. This is expected because material nature is so constituted. Even a boy like Prahlad, who only 5 years old was engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, was endangered when his father became antagonistic to tolerate him due to his devotion. Father tried to kill him with so many ways, but Prahlad Prahlad tolerated him. So for making advancement in spiritual knowledge, there may be many impediments. But we should be tolerant and continue our progress with determination. Simplicity means that without diplomacy, one should be so straightforward they can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. As for acceptance of the spiritual master, that is essential because without the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot progress in the spiritual science. One should approach the spiritual master with all humility and offer him all services so he will be pleased to bestow his blessings upon the disciple. Because a bona fide spiritual master is a representative of Krishna, if he bestows any blessing upon his disciple, that will make the disciple immediately advanced without the disciples following the regulated principles. Or the regulated principles will be easier for one who has served the spiritual master without reservation. Cleanliness is essential for making advancement in spiritual life. There are two kinds of cleanliness, external and internal. External cleanliness means taking a bath, but for internal cleanliness, one has to think of Krishna, always in chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the process. This process cleans the accumulated dust of past karma from the mind. Steadiness means that one should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Without such determination, one cannot make tangible progress. And self-control means that one should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path of spiritual progress. This is real renunciation. The senses are so strong that they are always anxious to have sense gratification. One should not cater to these demands which are not necessary. The senses should not only be gratified to keep the body fit so that one can discharge his duty in advancing in spiritual life. The most important and uncontrollable sense is the tongue. If one can control the tongue, then there is every possibility of controlling the other senses. The function of the tongue is to taste and to vibrate. Therefore, by systematic regulation of the tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. As far as the eyes are concerned, they should not be allowed to see anything but the beautiful form of Krishna. That will control the eyes. Similarly, the ears should be engaged in hearing about Krishna, and the nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. This is the process of devotional service, and is understood here that the Bhagavad Gita is simply expounding the science of devotional service. Devotional service is the main and sole objective. Unintelligent commentators on the Gita try to divert the mind of the reader to other subjects. But there is no other subjects in Bhagavad Gita but devotional service. False ego means accepting this body as oneself. One understands that he is not this body and is a spirit soul. That is real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In the Vedic literature it is said, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma, I am spirit. This I am, the sense of self, also exists in the liberated stage of self-realization. This sense of I am is ego, but when the sense of I am is applied to this false body, it is a false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is the real ego. There are some philosophers who say we should give up our ego, but we cannot give up our ego because ego means identity. We ought, of course, to give up the false identification with the body. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased, and no one wants to become old. But there is no avoiding these unless we have a pessimistic view of material life. Stand here, I gotta adjust myself. Ugh. Considering the distress of birth and death, old age and disease, there is no impetus for making advancement in spiritual life. As for the detachment from children, wife, and home, it's not meant that one should have no feeling for these. They are natural objects of affection, but they are not favorable to spiritual progress, and one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is the Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Have some discussion on books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and engage oneself in deity worship. These four will make one happy. One should train the members of his family in this way. Family members can sit down morning and evening and chant together Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, following these four principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced life. But if it is not congenial, not favorable for spiritual advancement, then family life should be abandoned. One must sacrifice everything to realize or serve Krishna, just as Arjuna did. Arjuna did not want to kill his family members, but when he understood that these family members were impediments to his Krishna realization, he accepted the instruction of Krishna and fought and killed them. In all cases, one should be detached from the happiness and distress of family life, because in this world one can never be fully happy or fully miserable. Happiness and distress are concomitant factors of material life. One should learn to tolerate, as advised in the Bhagavad Gita. One can never restrict the coming and going of happiness and distress. So one should be detached from the materialistic way of life and the automatically eco-opposed in both cases. Generally, when we get something desirable, we are very happy. When we get something undesirable, we are distressed. But if we are actually in the spiritual position, these things will not agitate us. To reach that stage, we have to practice unbreakable devotional service. Devotional service to Krishna without deviation means engaging oneself in the 9 processes of devotional service: chanting, hearing, worshiping, offering respect, etc., as described in the last verse of the 9th chapter. The process should be followed. Naturally, when one is adapted to the spiritual way of life, he will not want to mix the material mixed with materialistic men, that would go against his grain. One may test himself by seeing how far he is inclined to live in a solitary place without unwanted association. Naturally, a devotee has no taste for unnecessary sporting or cinema going or enjoying some social function, because he understands that these are simply a waste of time. There are many research scholars and philosophers who study sex life or some other subject, but according to the Bhagavad Gita, such research work and philosophical speculation have no value. That is more or less nonsensical. According to the Bhagavad Gita, one should make research by the philosophical discretion into the nature of the soul. One should make research to understand with what the self is concerned. That is recommended here. As far as self-realization is concerned, it's clearly stated here that Bhakti Yoga is especially practical. That Bhakti Yoga is especially practical. As soon as there is a question of devotion, one must consider the relationship between the supersoul and individual soul. The individual soul of the supersoul cannot be one, at least not at the bhakti conception, the devotional conception of life. This service of the individual soul to the Supreme Soul is eternal, nityam, as it is clearly stated. So bhakti or devotional service is internal. One should be established in that philosophical conviction. Otherwise, it's only a waste of time, ignorance. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is clearly explained. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advatyam. Those who are actually knowers of the absolute truth know that the self is self-realized in three different phases as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan 1.2.11. Bhagavan is the last word in the realization of the absolute truth. Therefore, one should reach up to that platform of understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus engage in devotional service of the Lord. That is perfection of knowledge. Beginning from practicing humility up to the point of realization of the Supreme Truth, the absolute personality of Godhead. This process is just like a staircase beginning from the ground floor up to the top floor. Now, on the staircase, there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second or third floor, etc. But unless one reaches the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at the lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with God, at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is harmful. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, still he thinks, I am God, because of ignorance. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord, one becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth. That was a long purport. Very deep. Text 13. I shall now explain the knowable, the knowing, which you will taste the eternal. This is beginningless and is subordinate to me. It is called Brahma, the spirit, and it lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Purport. The Lord has explained the field of activities as the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he's explained the knowable, both the soul and the supersoul respectively. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the supersoul, one can relish the nectar of life. Explained in the second chapter, living entity is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of Jivatma's manifestation with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Najayate merjyate vipashit. The knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. Supreme Lord is also stated in the Vedic literature as Pradhana Kshetra Jnana Patir Gunesha. The Supreme Lord, as the Super Soul, is the chief knower of the body, and he is a master of the three modes of material nature. The Smriti is said, Dasha Bhuta Harir, Eva Nadiyash Swaiva Karachana. The living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings. Therefore, the description of Brahma as mentioned in this verse is in relation to the individual soul. And when the word Brahman is applied to the living entity, is to be understood that he is Viganam Brahma as opposed to Anatta Brahma. Anatta Brahma is the Supreme Brahma personality of Godhead. Text 14. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes and faces, and he hears everything. In this way, the Supersoul exists. Purport. As the sun exists, diffusing its unlimited rays, so does the Supersoul, or Supreme Personality Godhead. He exists in all his pervading form, and in him exists all the individual living entities, beginning from the first great teacher, Brahman, down to small ants. There are unlimited heads, legs, hands, and eyes, unlimited living entities. All are existing in and on the Supersoul. Therefore, the Supersoul is all-pervading. The individual soul, however, cannot say that he has hands, legs, and eyes everywhere. That is not possible. If he thinks that although under ignorance, he is not conscious that his hands and legs are diffused all over. But when he attains to proper knowledge, he will come to that stage. His thinking is contradictory. This means that the individual soul, having become conditioned by material nature, is not supreme. The supreme is different from the individual soul. The Supreme Lord can extend his hand without limit. The individual soul cannot. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him a flower or a fruit or a little water, he accepts. If the Lord is a far distance away, how can he accept things? This is omnipotence of the Lord. Even though he is situated in his abode far, far away from earth, he can extend his hand to accept what anyone offers. That is his potency. In the Brahma Samhita is stated, Goloka Eva Nivashtati, although he is always engaged in his pastimes in transcendental planet, he is all-pervading. The individual soul cannot claim that he is all-pervading. Therefore, this verse describes the supersoul, the personality Godhead, not the individual soul. Text 15. The supersoul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is a master of all the modes of material nature. Purport. The Supreme Lord, although the source of all source of all the senses of the living entities, doesn't have material senses like they have. Actually, the individual souls have spiritual senses, but in conditioned life, they are covered with material elements, and therefore the sense activities are exhibited through matter. The Supreme Lord's senses are not so covered. His senses are transcendental and are therefore called nirguna. Guna means material modes, but his senses are without material covering. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is the source of all our central activities, he has his transcendental senses which are uncontaminated. This is very nicely explained in Shvetasvara Upanishad. In this verse, Sarvata Pani Padam, the Supreme Personality Godhead has no hands which are materially contaminated, but he has his hands and accepts whatever sacrifice is offered to him. That is the distinction between the conditioned soul and the supersoul. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes, otherwise how could he see? He sees everything, past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of every living being, and he knows that what we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is waiting us in the future. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him. It's said that the Supreme Lord has no legs like us. He can travel throughout space because he has spiritual legs. In other words, the Lord is not impersonal. He has his eyes, legs, hands, and everything else. Because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we also have these things. But his hands, legs, eyes, and senses are not contaminated by material nature. The Bhagavad Gita also confirms that when the Lord appears, he appears as he is by his internal potency. He's not contaminated by material energy because he is the Lord of material energy. In the Vedic literature, we find that his whole embodiment is spiritual. He has his eternal form called Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He is full of opulence. He is the proprietor of all wealth and the owner of all energy. He is the most intelligent and is full of knowledge. These are some of the symptoms of the Supreme Personality Godhead. He is the maintainer of all living entities and the witness of all activity. As far as we can understand from Vedic literature, the Supreme Lord is always transcendental. Although we do not see his head, face, hands, or legs, he has them. And we are elevated to the transcendental situation, then we can see the Lord's form. Due to material contaminated senses, we cannot see his form. Therefore, the impersonalists who are still materially affected cannot understand the personality of Godhead. That is our time for today. Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.